All right. So this is episode 3 of Networking with Nick. I'm so excited to be back. I don't know if I had said Mark, but here we go. Today, my guest today has close to a decade of strength and conditioning along with sports performance coaching experience under his belt. The Wyoming native has found himself in a few different locations along his journey, including Tennessee and Kansas. My guest started RP Auto Detailing to bring his love of cars to Wichita. He has been fascinating with styling and detailing vehicles since he was a teenager and has over 16 years of experience. After moving back to Wichita with his wife Morgan and his son Grayson, he looks to build RP Auto Detailing on the foundations of quality and integrity. My guest, Grant Gonzalez.
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad.
Yeah.
You were the hardest one to find stuff for.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know.
I don't post a lot on social media. It's one of those where, I don't know. I like to keep my private life private.
That's fair. As someone who's been a consumer of social media his entire life, ever since Facebook was out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And MySpace, I just, starting this year with the podcast, it is daunting to make content, especially in a business standpoint. Like,
Yep.
you're trying to make, you don't know those people who are going to judge you in your close friend circles. It's never those who don't know you.
Yeah.
You're never afraid of their judgment. It's only the people that you've known. So like your close friends, if you go to post stuff on Facebook, what are my friends going to think about me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of my thought process over the last few years. And it's definitely changed into being a more creator versus consumer.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I'm enjoying this. I'm having a good time.
Yeah. And I found I enjoy making content like with my detailing business. Like I enjoy filming and showing the process and but yeah, filming some of the personal stuff and posting that online, not for me. Like if you want to ask me how I am, I'll tell you, but yeah, you'll have to contact me instead of trying to find it on my Facebook page. So.
That's fair. I found this quote, and I want to kind of go into this. It's only after we've lost everything that we are free to do anything. That is a quote that I found on one of your social medias. When was the first time you heard that? Why was it so important to you?
Honestly, I don't ever remember posting that. That's kind of funny, but
it's on your Facebook.
Yeah, it was probably from like 2000, I don't know, 2009, 2010 when I was like in that weird spot between high school and college and starting out college, and I had to go back and delete a lot of posts from those years because I was like, man, I'm a different person now. This is weird. So
every day Facebook's like, hey, you got memories today. It's like, what did I do 12 years ago?
Let's not bring up those memories.
I delete them. No, that's so funny. I was wondering, because I had found that. I was like, it is a decent quote though. Like, because I mean, sometimes you do have to hit that rock bottom before you can really be like, be free to like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to do this. All right. Since that was kind of a failure, I thought that was one of yours.
No, but I think it does come from a place of, I mean, there's truth in it. For example, when I started RP Auto Detailing, we were just having our first kid. Job I was working was insane hours, and I felt like I was in bottom. Super stressed with just having the kid in general. That's stressful. But then working long hours, trying to figure out how am I going to do these hours with a kid, with a wife, with a family. And then just that thought of knowing that you're working for someone else to build their dreams, it grinds on you after a few years. So I've always wanted to venture out on my own. I've always liked doing my own thing. And so, yeah, when you're at bottom, that's when you're, I guess, least afraid to take that jump. So taking the jump into starting up RP Auto Detailing, it's kind of renewed a fire to network more, meet more people, grow. And I think I've learned more in these 6 months than I had the previous 10 plus years. So
it's kind of crazy how that happens. We're going to come back to that because at first I want to talk about this. Like I said earlier, you have about a decade of fitness coach professional in you. Give us a brief history on that, because it was hard to kind of decipher your journey through that.
Yeah. So it started out in high school. I was always big into lifting weights. I was an athlete. I played baseball. I wrestled in high school. I always loved the gym. I was always a smaller guy. So for me, it was always one of those where I want to be bigger. Like I want to have the confidence to have more muscle. And so that kind of got me rolling with it. When I got into college, I was actually an art major. So I'm a pretty good artist. I wanted to explore that, and then found out quickly that I don't know what career I'm going to do with this outside of art teacher, and that didn't really interest me. And so I started shifting that focus over to more the athletic side. So I went to athletic training, did that for a year. It wasn't really my jam either. When I went up to Kansas State, I started working at the rec. So I was just a weight room attendant, started personal training there, and loved it. It was awesome. It was people with similar things that I like to do. I was able to fortunately reach out to one of the coaches. So I worked with a few of the teams up there, the baseball team, the golf team, men and women. And that's where I really got to expand and learn a lot. And yeah, I took that 13 years plus into more the private sector. So when me and my wife moved out to Tennessee, worked at a few facilities out there. First with the rehab side of things for about 2.5 years.
Physical therapy, correct?
Yeah. So it was a facility where patients would come in, they'd just be out of surgery, they'd have issues, they're meeting with therapists. Therapists would pass them on down to us as trainers to kind of expand that and grow. But there got to a point where I was like, you're kind of limited in what you can do with knee replacement people. They're going through it, but I liked to work with athletes. Like that was my passion. So went to a different facility a little bit further south, got to work with athletes. I mean, every population you can think of. We had 9-year-old soccer teams. We had 80-year-old women in there who were jamming and jumping and moving. Yeah. So when we moved back out here to Kansas, I was able to get in with the facility here, worked there for about 3.5 years. And then it was at that point that we were having the kid come in, and I decided to venture out. So I've always been in detailing cars. When I grew up, I loved making model cars. So I like to tell people I like the performance side of cars, but I'm more into the aesthetic side of cars.
All right.
I like the way they look. I like to customize things. I like to just make them shiny and look awesome. So it's one of those where I probably can't tell you what kind of engine my car has, but I know how it looks. I know how I want it to look. So, so if that makes sense at all.
No,
so
absolutely.
And that's why I gravitate to the detailing side of things, because you can really, get lost in the world of making your car look awesome. So
yeah, there's so many customizations. I'm a kid born in 1990, grew up in the 90s, and there's one particular movie that we all remember as teenagers in high school, and that's Fast and the Furious. The original two, not
I didn't make it past 2.
Yeah,
Tokyo Drift lost me.
Tokyo Drift. There's so many now, but when that movie had came out, like every kid wanted a Supra or whatever that you could get your hands on, and wanted their car to look cool and sound fast and it was just like. And then Too Fast, Too Furious came out, and Ludacris. And
the video games, PS1, PS2. I remember having all the video games, customizing cars. I didn't even necessarily like racing them. I just liked customizing
putting them together. I just liked making them look good, man.
Yep.
That's so crazy. So before we get into that a little bit, I want to ask you this, because I did find a video of you talking to your people. 2020, you and your wife.
That's when we're moving back here.
Yeah, moving back here. That conversation.
Yep.
What was that mindset like in those conversations between you two? Like, because you guys knew that you had whatever you had going on with the coaching versus like, what was that? Should stay, should not go. Like, what was that conversation?
So there wasn't ever really an issue of, are we not going to go? My wife got an awesome job opportunity back here in Wichita. She grew up in Andover, so her family's here. We were thinking about having a family, and it makes it convenient having her parents here. So, and I can coach anywhere. Like, move me to any city in the United States, and I can figure out how to meet people and coach them and grow that. So for me, that wasn't I think the hardest thing, and especially after moving a few facilities through that, is saying goodbye to the people that you meet along the way. Because especially training, you build a big relationship with your clientele and the people you work with. Like here in Wichita, I had a guy that I trained with him every day, Monday through Friday. So I'm with that guy 5 days a week, 5 hours during the week. Like, you talk a lot. And through a training session, I wasn't one of those trainers that's going to have you running the whole hour. Not my philosophy. Yeah, like for me, you do a set, you'd rest. And so you just get to small talking. So the hardest thing with leaving a facility, moving, is just saying bye to the people that you meet, because they do really become family. So that was the hardest part of all that.
So how much of that skill though do you bring with you? Because you just, you were talking about how new you are to the networking scene, about 6 months or so.
Yeah.
But you just had that whole long time of building relationships of all these clients that you've built
Mhm.
up over the past.
Yeah.
How much are you able to lean on that when it comes to networking?
Um, I try not to. I'm one of those people, like, I hate salespeople. I hate being bothered, and I didn't feel like it was right to reach out to all my clients here in Wichita and be like, "Hey, do you want me to wash your car?" I reach out to them and I'll be like, "Hey, how you doing? You know, it's been a while. Let's catch up." But I didn't want to bring up, "Hey, do you want your car washed?" Like,
Right.
I told everybody when I was leaving what I was planning on doing. If they were interested, I'd like, "Hey, hit me up." If they weren't, I wasn't gonna push it. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
but it's funny. I'm an introvert naturally. Like,
Okay.
talking to people just drains my energy beyond belief. So as a trainer, you work 4 or 5 hours straight, and I would need a nap. Like, you're exhausted at that point. So you almost need to recharge. And that was one cool thing about the job is there's generally like a 3 to 4 hour gap in the middle of the day, which allowed me to get my own workout in, come home, take a nap, eat some lunch, recharge, go back for my groups that I have. And especially if you are working in groups of athletes, like, you got to bring the energy. You can't just be in there like, all right, guys, let's do this now. Otherwise, the athletes are going to feed off of that. So,
Right.
um,
That just sets the pace,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
not good for a workout in any way, shape, or form.
yeah. So it's funny. It's almost like I got 13 years of learning how to communicate with people. And that's something that I actually had to work on. I read books on how to create conversations, like how to keep them going, how to keep people interested. Because as a trainer, if people don't like to spend time with you, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. People aren't going to sign up for more sessions. They're going to be like, no, that guy's lame. I don't want to spend an hour with him anymore. So you
Right.
have to learn to become personal and how to talk to people and how to connect with people. So I think that has helped a lot in learning to network and learning to meet people and expanding as I grow into the detailing business.
Yeah, no, communication's so big. Like, besides the written word, like your voice is the thing that influences anyone around you. You
Hmm.
can influence millions of people to do horrible things or amazing things. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter, and it's really just that voice. So, like, what were some of the things that you struggled with communicating with people like that? Like, what were some of the things that you had to work on and overcome?
A lot of it is, I guess, just the initial meeting people phase. I've never been like,
Taco tacos, break the ice
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
I've never been a small talk person. Like, if you come at me with small talk, I'm gonna be bored and I'm gonna leave. So it's one of those, I've never been a fan of making small talk. So the hardest thing has been finding ways to connect with people deeper than just the superficial of, hey, nice weather out today, isn't it? Like, that kind of
It's a
talk
great
just
day for it.
yeah, and it honestly just goes right through the other ear. So I like to have deep conversations, and that's what was nice about training is you had an hour you could really dig deep into people's background, where they're at, where they're going, where they came from. So
You don't have to give any away, but anyone give you some dark, deep secrets that you got to hang on to?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's one of those where as a coach, I mean, you're like a part-time therapist as well. Like,
really.
yeah, it's surprising. Like, people, and again, it's one of those where it comes with the territory. I think it's kind of physical as well because you're putting people through hard things. Like, it can bring out some emotions, and people start talking about things,
Yeah.
and there was always that client confidentiality. Like, I was never gonna go in the back room after a session and talk to the other trainers about my clients.
I
Like,
just
that's
heard the wildest stuff, guys. You
yeah,
ain't gonna believe it. No,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
So, all right, man. So, how did that feel to you, though? Being almost put into that position, almost. It almost feels like that you would almost get forced with that. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
obviously, you're building that relationship. You want them to do good, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, they just hit you with some deep stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's life. Everybody goes through that stuff. So I think to me, it was not comforting, but if I could be that outlet for some people during that day and make their day a little bit better, I had no issues with it.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah,
I love that. That's super awesome. All right, you guys move here in 2020.
I did.
4 years later, you find yourself as the owner of an automotive detailing service.
Yeah.
Yep. What's the story from that Like, what was that pivot point? All right, coaching's done. Car detail.
Yeah. So the last like month before our son was born, I was really trying to, my dream has always been to open up a gym, open up my own space. Unfortunately, with the non-compete that I had, that wasn't looking possible. It was a year non-compete, still in it. So I was like, what can I do outside of training to be my own boss? What do I love to do? And I love to clean my cars. Like it's super soothing to me. And again, being a natural introvert, I can just throw on some music, jam on a car for 6 hours, have it completely clean. So it's one of those
going hard on a car.
Yeah, it's one of those like I get in the zone. Like I'll start a detail at 8 in the morning. I'll pack my lunch. I'll be done at 3 and haven't touched my lunch. Like for me, it's hard to break that groove I'm in.
If you're moving and you're going and you're in that flow state,
yeah,
it's hard to like.
It's hard to step back and eat for 30 minutes because then I feel like I'm losing time. And especially if I have a day where I've got 2 details in a row, like you get crunched for time. So it's one of those. But I forgot what the original question was.
Oh, don't even. So like, right before your son was born, you were looking, like the coaching was there, but then you know what, we're gonna make that transition. We're gonna dive in and become a car detailer.
So I think it was actually just scrolling through TikTok. I follow some detailers on there, and I'm like, man, it's super satisfying to watch.
Absolutely.
And I love doing it. And I was like, I want to kind of look deeper into this, and then kind of went down the rabbit hole, got into some YouTube series on how to start, where to start. I found a guy who had a program out, Go Detail out of Portland, I think is where he's at. And he kind of shows you where to start, how to do the business, gets you set up with Google My Business, all the chemicals you need, all the supplies. And that kind of sparked that interest of, hey, this is something I could actually do. Like you don't see it a whole lot in Wichita. I know there are a few companies now that I'm in it, but a lot of people have no idea what it is or what it entails or who to call. So I was like, hey, if I can be that go-to guy to help people renew that sense of newness in their vehicle, like I'd love to do that.
So as somebody who has, I've never been a go get my car detailed guy.
Yeah.
I've always been the not even like the automatic wash.
Yeah.
The place where you got the brush and you spray it down yourself, like the quarter shop. What is the difference between me truly, just bringing my car to you versus that?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
So the biggest difference is how clean your car is going to get, but then also the protection that you're going to get with a pro detailer. So
protection, that's interesting.
Protection, yeah, and
let's talk about that.
So when I say protection, that is basically your paint. You go to the local quick washes, they've got the big old beaters, they're going to hammer your car, send you through, and then that's where you get a lot of those little micro scratches and swirls in your paint. Some people don't care, and that's fine. If it's your daily driver and you don't care, that's fine. But for people who are spending tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on a car, they like to keep that perfect. It's going to help with resale value. So as a detailer, we kind of fill that space for people who really want to take the best care of their vehicle.
What are some of the best ways to do that? So I used to work in hazmat. Some of the best things you can do is called preventative maintenance, making sure things don't break before they break.
Yep.
What are some tips for some individuals who may not necessarily have the ability to have it done every month, every other month, but some things that they can invest in to protect their car?
So the biggest thing you can do is hand wash it yourself.
Okay.
Look up the 2-bucket method. It's what we use. And basically you have 2 buckets filled with water. One's got a strainer at the bottom to keep dirt from getting in your mitt. You rinse in one, wash the panel, always go in straight lines. I'm going to create some videos about that. You put it into the bucket that you actually rinse the dirt off of the mitt, and then you dunk it back in the clean water from there. Because as a detailer, the big thing we want to do is prevent any kind of scratches. Now, you're never going to be able to prevent them 100%, but if we can minimize that and keep your vehicle looking the best for the longest, so that's where hand washing is always going to be superior to going to the quick wash. Now, again, some people don't have 2-3 hours to do that on the weekend, so that's where detailers can fill in. Like, for example, I've got a maintenance package for $99 a month. I'll come out once a month, fully detail your vehicle. And so that's coming up with creative ways for people who may not have the budget or the time to do that.
Right.
So,
all right. So what are we talk about the budget ways. What are the big boy ways? How are people, say if I have Ferrari Enzo, and I'm like, hey, Grant, this thing's nice. I like the red on this Ferrari. I want it to stay red forever.
Yeah.
What am I using then? When I come to you, what are we using?
So you've got kind of levels of protection that you can go with. The ultimate is going to be paint protection film, PPF.
Walk me up that step. Walk me up that graduating step.
So paint protection film is going to give you the best coverage, and that's essentially just a clear wrap that goes over your vehicle. You can do it in just the front where bugs and rocks are going to hit. You can do it over every single piece of paint that you've got on the vehicle. It's up to you on how much protection you want. So that's going to give you ultimate protection from rocks hitting up, things chipping it, things scratching. Kind of a tier down from that, that's a little bit more cost effective for most people, is called a ceramic coating.
Okay.
So what that is, it's essentially a glass coating that gets applied to your paint. It fully cures and it creates just a layer of protection. So it's going to be super hydrophobic. Like if you
Huh.
were to dunk a glass of water, it's just going to bead and run off.
Is this only for like the windshield, or is this for
This is
every?
for
You can do this.
everything.
You can coat your whole
Yeah.
car in this.
Yep. So you can literally do the paint, the plastic, the windshield, the rims.
Huh.
You can even do the interior. So I actually did one just earlier this week, a ceramic interior, and you can actually, once it cures, pour some water on your seat and it'll just sit in a puddle on top. Like
You just gotta soak it on up.
won't soak down. So yeah, you just take a shirt, soak it up, and it's done. So,
Wow. How long does that last? What is the life? The shelf
generally
life on
about 6 months for that interior. Now, if you're looking at exterior, they have coatings from 1 year all the way up to 7+ years.
Oh wow.
So, and that just depends on how much of the SiO2 formula is inside the bottle.
Now, if you say if you're doing that like on a yearly basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way you have to strip that base layer back that you've done like a year prior, or are you able to just kind of?
You can actually maintain it and boost it.
That's
So
what I was
let's say
gonna
you
wonder.
get a 3 to 5 year coating. You can go through every 6 months to a year and put on what's called a booster sealant spray, and that'll basically just keep that lasting longer and longer.
So how long does that take? So to apply that type of protection, I'm assuming you got to do the whole process of a car, cleaning the car.
Yep.
How long's that process?
So generally, it depends on how much the paint needs to be corrected. So we were talking about swirls earlier.
Right.
If you've just got some very faint, light little swirls on it, just a one-step polish over top, and then you can do the ceramic coating. Generally takes about 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
A little bit less if you have help with it. If you need what's called a two-step, we're actually compounding down and filing down that clear coat a little bit more, and then finishing over top, and then applying that ceramic coating. That can take anywhere from 10 to 12 hours, depending on the size of the vehicle. So, and then there's also 3-step paint corrections where you actually go in and hand sand with sandpaper, polish, buff, clear coat, or
taking like legit sandpaper to the
legit.
That's scary. That's terrifying.
It was a scary process learning it, because you're like, man, I'm messing up this paint. But then you go through after, you compound, you polish, and it is shiny as any part of paint on that thing.
Wow.
So that's where you have to be careful and take it to professional when you're doing a paint correction, because there is clear coat on every vehicle. And each time you polish, that clear coat gets less and less. And if you completely burn through that clear coat, there's no going back, and you're going to need to repaint the car.
Now you got to repaint the car.
So you actually have to go in with a measuring tool and measure how much clear coat is on that vehicle. And then you can know, hey, we've got enough clear coat. I can go ahead and do this 2-step polish and then ceramic coat over top.
Okay.
So there's a lot of science, and people are like, man, this is expensive for a ceramic coating, but you get what you pay for. Like,
no, yeah, no joke. I mean, that type of protection, especially on, well, look, I was looking at an F-150 the other day, and it's a $70,000 truck.
Exactly.
If you're gonna spend that money on a car,
an extra $2,000 to get it protected for 7 years is not
it's the no-brainer.
Yep.
That's like, especially if you're,
investment.
that's no reason, especially in Kansas. Like, I don't know what's that do against hail. You know what I mean? Does that have some resilience against hail?
It is going to give you a little bit against hail. Obviously, if someone keys your car, it's
That's
probably
not
going to
good.
go through. Yeah, like
You probably have bigger problems.
It's going to burn through that ceramic coat. PPF is a little bit different. It might protect a little bit more. But ceramic coating, it's going to protect from environmental factors. Yeah, like it's going to give you a little bit of hail protection, a little bit of rock kicking up. It's going to make it to where it's super easy to clean. So you don't need to wax your vehicle anymore. Basically, just going through, a lot of times you can just hose off the stuff that's on there, and it'll just fly off. So.
Protective barrier for everything but an ex-girlfriend. That's right.
Yes.
You and I met an in-person network meeting called BNI. What has the power of network done for your business?
Oh, it's been huge. It's one of those where I've been able to expand into people from different areas of work, real estate agents, insurance agents, roofers. And it's one of those where I can help them, they can help me, and we just expand our business and grow with each other. So it's been good. It's been awesome.
Good. All right. So what are a few things that you've learned while networking that you didn't know the first day you showed up?
I mean, everything basically. I had never really had, I guess I'd had to network, but working in a gym setting, the people would come to you. I
Right.
never worked in
It's
a
not,
Y where I had to like go and like bother someone on the treadmill to be like, hey, do you want to train with me? So it's one of those where it got me out of my comfort zone. I had to talk to people that I didn't know, which I'm fine with. Again, I had years of just talking with people on a daily basis. So,
right.
but yeah, learning how to network and to do it properly. And the biggest thing that I've learned from it is, I think it should be in any business in general, is just do a good job and treat people right.
Dude, that's so important.
And that's going to keep people referring to you and coming back to you. Treat people how you want to be treated. Like if I'm
Absolutely.
paying $300 for a detail, how do I want my car to look? And I take that same mentality into every car that I detail. I'm kind of a perfectionist, so at times it kind of bites me when I'm doing a
Right.
$300 job for 7, 8 hours.
Oops.
Like, yeah, but it's one of those where I know that if I'm not happy with it, I'm not going to give it back to the client. Like, I'm going to do anything I can to make it look as good as possible.
And if you were to give it back to the client, it's going to bother you that night.
Oh,
you know what I mean? You're going to go
I'm
home.
gonna lose sleep.
You're not going to be
I'm
happy.
gonna text them the next day and be like, "Hey, if you're not happy, I'll come back right now and fix it for you." So,
dude, that's good. You know, having that integrity, being that person, you know, saying that you're going to do the thing, be that guy. Like, and that's what it comes down to, and the consistency of that, and that's all it'll take to grow. What's a tip or two for a newcomer to networking? One of mine, this is my favorite. I got two. One is brush your teeth and smile. God, is that not people need to talk about that more.
Yes.
Brush your damn teeth and smile.
Take
a shower. Don't smell bad.
Yep.
Shave your face. And then my other one is kind of like what you're talking about, like, you know, meeting new people. It's not middle school, man.
Yeah.
Don't sit on the sideline. If you don't know that person, go up and meet that person. Get, you know, that gap. Like, it's not middle school. Don't be afraid. It's not a dance. The girl across the way is not going to bite you.
Yep. And be curious.
People, that's a good one.
People love to talk about themselves. So whenever I'm meeting someone, I try not to talk about myself at all. You want to be super interested in the person you're talking to. Ask them how they got into what they're doing. Ask them their background. Like, that will get them trusting you more. They're going to open up to you more, and you're going to learn more about that person. And then when they start asking you questions, then you can start expanding upon what you do. But nobody likes a person that just sits there and talks about themselves the entire time. So be curious, and talk to the other person and get to know them.
Absolutely.
I would say is the biggest thing.
Being curious is so important. Everyone, I'm a big fan of the book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The second chapter is something like it. Use their name. People want to hear their name. They want to. It's like their favorite word. And they also want to be like, they want to be able to talk. And that, you know, it's such a true thing. You just go up like, who are you? What do you do?
Exactly.
Those two basic questions usually gets people to get going.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. So what are the goals going forward? We're 6 months in.
Yep.
We're getting ready to push the year. What do we want to see? Where do we want to see this go next?
Yeah. So I think the hardest thing for me is I've never owned a business, done a business plan, anything like that. So I'm working with a business coach right now. He's helping me kind of build the foundation of where I want to be. So one thing when I started out with this, and any kind of person that's in the trade, is you're a technician. You're going to be the one doing the job. So it's one of those where I didn't know there was anything outside of that. Talking to this business coach, he's got me to think differently and realize that eventually I want to be the owner. I want to work on the business, not in the business. So right now I am in the technician role. As I start to build and grow, I'm hoping to hire someone on in the spring here. So that'll increase productivity.
Yes.
As we start to grow, I'd like to bring in a manager to help manage the business with me as well. I'm currently in the works of partnering with a guy to get a building built. So we're going to have a physical location over in Andover. So, which is a awesome area to be. I'm pumped about that.
Now, will we keep physical and mobile? Okay, I was gonna say.
So we're gonna keep the physical. The mobile portion is super convenient for so many people. It's even more convenient than the stopwatch is. You don't have to sit there in line, wait for 10, 15 minutes to go through, vacuum it out. Like, I can literally come to your job while you're working, detail your vehicle. You work your normal day, come out, and you've got a perfectly clean vehicle.
Dude, so that's so amazing.
So the convenience factor, and then the shop is going to allow us to do more of the coatings, the paint protection films, and do some more of that in-house work.
I like that. Those are some really amazing goals to set for the next coming year.
Yeah.
I have one last question for you, Grant. You decide to open this garage door one day, and on the other side of it is 18-year-old you.
Yeah.
Just standing there. You guys are looking at each other dead in the eye.
Yeah.
What would you tell that young man who's about to start his journey?
Oh man. A loaded question.
Goddamn right it is. It's a good one though.
Knowing what I know now,
What advice would you give that young man? You can't give him all the answers, but you can definitely give him some advice.
Take more risks.
Damn.
Get outside your comfort zone more. Comfort zone is somewhere where people just go to wither away and die. And it's
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, it's one of those where I think that's what I've learned the most is I've always gotten the most out of pushing outside my comfort zone. And again, being in the strength and conditioning field for so long, you never grow if you use the same weights week after week. Like you've got to push it. And people don't do that enough in their personal life. We tend to just stick to the little bubble we know. We tend not to venture out, meet new people, try new things. So I've always looked at it as a challenge of trying new things, doing new things, because 9 times out of 10, something good's going to come out of it.
You know, in a world full of ease, where it is truly ease to just sit at home on the couch, scroll, do whatever, and
have a mobile detailer come to your business.
I'm a victim of that, you know, myself, and you just sit there and it's like nothing good is gonna. No one's gonna stop by and drop off a Lamborghini at your house.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, you want this? That shit. That, like we've all had that thought.
Yeah.
That shit don't happen.
Yep.
You gotta get out there and like. Who was it? I can't remember who I heard this from, but that feeling of anxiety right before you're about to do something, that's not anxiety.
That's excitement. It's excitement.
That's fucking excitement for something that you're about to do that you've never done before.
Absolutely.
And that's the way you got to look at it.
Yep.
You can't be, oh, I'm scared.
Yeah. And it's one of those, like, I think we all envy those people who go skydiving and go snorkeling and visit places and do things, because that is living, experiencing new things, trying new things, being scared shitless. Like that is.
Sometimes you just got to say these 2 amazing words, fuck it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
And you just, all right, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was the same starting this business. Like I was doing something that I'd never done professionally before. I was leaving my job of comfort that I'd done for 13 years. And yeah, there was a video I got sent from the guy I'm partnering up with, from Steve Harvey, where he talks about jumping. And it's the coolest, motivates the hell out of me thing that I've ever seen, because it's one of those where you've got to jump or you're not going to go anywhere.
Who are these some individuals that you either follow or look up to that, like, that, you know, Steve Harvey's a really good one. I'm a huge Alex Hormozi fan, Gary Vee. Who are some of the people that you look up to throughout your life that, like, you know what? All right, I'll give it a shot. You know what I mean?
That's kind of a funny question. I don't really idolize anybody. There's people that I follow, but it's one of those where I like to take bits and pieces of information from people as I go through. So anytime when I was in strength conditioning, I'd go to conferences and you'd hear people talk and you're like, man, I'd only ever seen that guy on social media. But it's one of those where, yeah, you just have to take what they're saying and see how you can use it for yourself. So a few people that I follow, I wouldn't say there's anybody who I really like watch all their social media.
It doesn't have to be a social media person. It can be it can be like, one of my big ones is my father.
Yeah.
My father, so growing up, a lot of people don't know this, my parents were big drug addicts. So I grew up different. Nowadays, being 33, like, he owns a 4.5-acre ranch. He's got some horses. So his journey, like watching what he's gone through to get clean and sober and out of that, like, he is one of my biggest heroes.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't tell him that enough. Honestly, I actually just went out and saw him last year at the damn ranch. And I was, the first 2 days there, I was like, motherfucker, where was this? Where was all this
when
hard
I was
work
a kid?
when I was a kid? You know, I'm happy my son's there enjoying a great time riding horses, playing with chickens. But bro, this was not what I got. This is not okay. So, you know, who are those individuals in your life?
Yeah. Honestly, my wife was one of the biggest ones. She's one of the hardest workers, like, and she gives so much that I idolize her. So, and I tell her and she just thinks I'm making it up, but it's true.
We know who's not sleeping on the couch tonight.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, no one really. There's not really any kind of celebrity or social media influencer that stands out to me. There's people
Good.
that I've taken bits and pieces from, but nobody that I really like idolize or anything like that.
No, I think that's good. That's an interesting, healthy like mind space. I think we do idolize a lot of influencers
Yeah.
a lot, and it's you can't compare yourself to those people. It's not
Hmm.
fair, because you don't get to see their step one.
Yeah.
Like we don't see that. I would love to see a lot of those people step one. I would
Yeah.
love to see them working out of their home, like, you know, Amazon out of his,
Yeah.
out of his garage
We
like
all
this.
know
I
the
would
big
have
guys that
loved
did
to
it.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, yeah, I don't know. This journey is amazing, and I couldn't. I'm a bad employee. I couldn't go back, and I'm so happy. So awesome, brother. This has been an amazing
Yeah.
third episode. Thank you
Appreciate you
so
stopping
much.
by.
Hell yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome. This has been another awesome episode of Networking with Nick.